I haven't actually looked into whether this has been done before or not, but I had the idea and I thought it would be fun. This, if you can't tell by the title, is going to be a recap of my art this year. So many apps are doing these now. We've got Spotify Wrapped, Apple Music Replay, YouTube Recap, even Discord has Discord checkpoints. So here is my equivalent and maybe I'll make it a yearly thing. Welcome to my 2025 Art Archive. Some of the categories I'll make comparisons to 2024 and others I won't. Let's start simple. This year I made 42 pieces total. Some I can't show because they were part of a certain safe for work event that takes place in October. If you know, you know. It's not as much as I'd like, but that's what happens when you have a lot of breakdowns and extended breaks. That being said, it's 8 more than last year because I only did 34. I don't know if that's a lot or not. I feel like it's not as much as I would like anyway, but that's the ballpark we're in right now. In 2026, we're definitely going to make more. I'm not even slightly surprised that my most drawn character this year was Blue Lock's Ryusei Shido, but the amount of pieces is way less than I expected with a total of 6. Last year, however, was a bigger shock as my most drawn character was Toji Fushiguro. For those of you who don't know, that's my husband. He's my favourite anime character ever. I love him so much. It shouldn't be a shock that I drew him the most. It was only 4 times, but I've only drawn him twice this year. And I don't actually like to draw him too much. I don't think he suits my style, but I maybe just am too hard on myself because he is my favourite and I feel like my art doesn't do him justice. Another unexpected one. I thought I spent 30 hours on this piece this year, but it was actually only 24-ish hours. And I say only, that is, an entire day. My actual longest piece was this art I did of my favourite freak, Shido. It took me a total of 28 hours and 3 minutes. Most of the art I've done this year probably doesn't justify taking this long, so I'm actually embarrassed looking back on this. I think I've improved on my speed, but if things take me a while, I do like to remind myself that it'll take as long as it takes. It shouldn't be embarrassing, but I think another reason I've made less art than I'd have liked this year is because of my speed. But like I said, I think I'm slowly but surely getting quicker. That was an oxymoron, wasn't it? This pales in comparison to my longest piece last year. It was my DJ Rindo art and it took me a whopping 34 hours and 33 minutes. That's over 6 hours of additional time. I think it's because I did a background. Background's not my forte. I was trying to experiment with lighting and just finding my footing on my style and wasn't confident in most aspects of my art style yet, so I spent way too much time on this trying to figure things out. I think it looks good, but I know I can do better. This might be my biggest shock of them all. I am a slow artist and assumed everything I've ever done has taken a minimum of 4 hours, and yet my shortest art of 2024 was a chibi of my Osei Monet that only took 2 hours and 4 minutes. This year I'm going to throw 2 at you because one of them is this ugly cat I did. I've never drawn animals before, but I wanted to try and draw my Osei's cat cassette as this silly cat meme I use as a reaction a lot, but I don't like how it turned out at all. However, a piece I actually liked is this chibi of Cassette's owner Willa, which is my next shortest piece, which took 4 hours and 12 minutes. The Willa piece stays true to my assumption that nearly everything I do takes a minimum of 4 hours. Also, I think there's a lot of improvement between these two chibis. This one might be obvious because of my most drawn characters, but my most drawn fandom of 2025 is Blue Lock with a total of 8 pieces, 6 of those being Shido, 1 being Rin Itachi for his birthday, and the other being Oliver Aiku because look at him. Fun fact actually, my first Blue Lock crush was Oliver Aiku. I started reading the manga before the anime dropped because I saw a panel of him on Tumblr. He started it all. Last year, my most drawn fandom was Jujutsu Kaisen with a higher total of 10 pieces. There were 4 pieces of Toji, 2 of Sukuna, 1 of Sukuna and Ino, 1 of Megan Thee Stallion and Gojo, 1 of Yuji, and 1 of Chozo. I'd quite like to redraw the Chozo one, by the way. I like how his skin and hair look, but the claws are bad. If you didn't know, I was inspired by teenager Bubbles from the Powerpuff Girls to make this piece. When I say I like how his skin and his hair look, I still do skin in a similar way, but hair, I've changed how I do hair. Even though I think it looks pretty good here, I think I could improve on it. I think I could improve on the whole thing, so maybe I will redraw it. That's a 2026 goal. This is the first category where the answer is the same. This year I drew 4 pieces of my OC, Monet, Miu Miu, Mueller, and last year I drew 5. The difference in the pieces is actually astounding to look at, whether it's collages, or portraits, or chibis. It's nice and really validating to see some obvious growth. I'll start with 2024 again this time and say my favourite art of the year was actually my last piece of the year, which was Ryusuke Shido in his Hello Kitty pyjamas. I don't know how to describe this properly, but I feel like this is my first piece where my brain and style started to shift into what I'm able to do today. I think there's an obvious difference between this and this, but I feel like there's a stronger connection between these two than maybe these two. These are the first and last pieces I did in 2024. These two are... let's think of it as a family tree and say they are half siblings. Meanwhile, these two might be second cousins or something. I feel like everything I do has a line of connection through it, where you can see the journey and the evolution, but there's definitely growth from this to this to this. You get me? Meanwhile, back to 2025, there is absolutely no other answer for me to give other than this piece of my OC Willa. For those who don't know, she's a Genshin OC, she's from Fontaine, she has a hydro vision, she's a sailor, etc, etc. But for this piece, I wanted to draw her on a day off from work where she's in the Hotel de Borde in a pretty dress. There isn't much I can complain about in this piece. I am someone who avoids doing backgrounds like the plague, but this entire piece was me pushing myself. I specifically chose a pose with the intent of using a more challenging camera angle to see what I'm capable of when I push, and then I decided to push myself further and do a background. And I love it. I really love this and I think it shows. She's my favourite original character and I have been so scared to draw her myself and always get commissions instead. But I am so happy I pushed myself, took a risk, allowed myself room to fail if it came to it, and it ended up being my favourite piece of the whole year. Actually, it's my favourite piece I've ever done. And maybe next year we'll be looking back at this and thinking, wow, this looks bad. Look how amazingly I've done in 2026. But I cannot tell you the sense of pride and happiness I get when I look at this piece. I think this is something I can look at when I doubt myself and can see I'm not as bad as my art spirals sometimes tell me I am. This one might sound negative, but I'm not going to beat myself up over this because it ain't that deep. Once again, starting with 2024, just because I have more to say, but my least favourite art out of the 34 pieces I did is this piece of Michael Kaiser. I did this for a friend, and I just think it's bad. I think it's bad and ugly, and I think we can probably all agree. I have no idea how to shade or draw clothes, and that's not me saying I know how to now, but I think I'm better at faking it. I'm what I like to call jammy with clothes. And if you don't know, jammy is British slang, but I did check Urban Dictionary and the definition is to be lucky or more accurately fluky. I don't think in my case it's luck or anything like that. I just have a specific way I can make clothes look not shit. I think his skin looks pretty good. It's okay. I think my process is still a bit similar, but I'm probably more confident and purposeful now. Whereas here, I think I'm guessing and relying too much on art tutorials. His ear is so absurdly big. Holy moly! Why is it so big? It's bigger than most of his facial features. That is the biggest ear I have ever seen. I don't like his eyes, or his nose, or his lips, or his hair. The way I do all 4 of these now is totally different. I'm actually flabbergasted by how enormous his ear is. Like, I can't stop staring at it. Who looked at that and gassed me up and told me that was fine? I wonder if any of my other arts have big ears like this. Oh my god. My least favourite piece in 2025 is this ugly cat. I couldn't really decide on a proper piece that was my least favourite, which is actually shocking considering how hard I am on myself. Even the ones that reduced me to tears and made me hate everything about my art, I'm looking at now and I'm like, it's not even bad. So yeah, cassette. Is that a cop-out? Maybe. But like, look at it. Need I say more? No comparisons to 2024 this time. I just wanted to pat myself on the back a little bit. I've already glazed my piece on Willer Enough, but that is very obviously number one. Followed by number two, a Draw This in Your Style I did recently. The original character is called Luna, and the person hosting the event is on Instagram, and their @is Lullaby. I think that's how you say it. Her art is absolutely gorgeous, so definitely check her out. But yeah, I love how my entry turned out. It wasn't a competition or anything, but I really tried my hardest, and I think the composition is pretty, Luna looks pretty, I love the colours and the vibe and the overall outcome, so that's number two. And number three is this art I did for Siblings Day. I did this because my Osei Monet has an older brother called Rory, and I thought it would be cute to do something of them for Siblings Day. I remember feeling a lot of pride when I finished this one, and I think Monet looks the prettiest I've ever drawn her in this one. They have an interesting relationship. She doesn't like him all that much, but she loves him still. And he loves her and is quite protective, but loves to wind her up. And I think this comes across well in this piece. I think it's vibrant and fun, and the first time I can recall that I experimented with facial expressions. I remember being really proud of Rory's in particular because I hate doing teeth, and I think they look great with his big cheesy smile. I found it hard to pick one for this, but I decided to choose Shido in this boyfriend t-shirt because the facial expression was a nightmare. I actually had a totally different pose picked. I'll insert it here if I can find it, but I just could not draw it to save my life. The angle was too hard, I just couldn't do it. So I ended up using myself as a reference, which I recommend a lot anyway because I do it all of the time. If I need a certain angle of eyes or a nose or lips, I'll take a picture of myself and use that as a reference on how to draw it. Anyway, I was hating the way this was turning out, even when I used myself as a reference. The eyes weren't in the right place, the apples of his cheeks looked weird, I didn't think his eyebrows looked right, but I am a firm believer in covering up problem areas with hair. I love a hairstyle that can cover up problems, but I really like the end result. I ship him with my Osei Monet, by the way, so this is her hand. I only have one example for this year, unfortunately, but I decided to do an art redraw for the first and only time this year of something I did in 2022. The something is this beautiful, stunning, breathtaking monstrosity of Dabi from My Hero Academia. Now, as awful as this art is, and I know it's awful, it's turned into something iconic between my friends and I. I remember spending, I want to say 3 or 4 hours on this, and I knew it was bad. I knew as I was doing it, and I knew it wasn't going to colour well because I had no idea how to colour. And still, when I finished, I crashed out, I cried, I was embarrassed, I was ashamed, and I swore I'd never be able to do any better than that because I tried my best. And how can I do better than my best? That was the best I had, and there was no way to improve it. Well...
So that was a fucking lie.
3 years later, I created this. It isn't an exact redraw, I guess, but I didn't use a reference for the first one, and I wanted to this time. I think they're kinda similar. I forgot to give him pants on the first one, and this one... I guess he's probably not wearing pants. I wanted to make his pose a little more dynamic, but nothing crazy. I decided to do his hair white just because I felt like it, and that's about it really. Do you think there's an improvement? I think it's hard to tell. They're kind of similar. Also, a side note, every time I look at the original Dabi, I always think of that episode of Family Guy where Quagmire gets into some adult websites he never knew existed and he is missing for a few weeks, and then they see him picking up his mail and one of his arms is just so much bigger than the other. I always think of that whenever I look at this. And that is the end of my first ever art archive. I hope you enjoyed this little analysis study thing, and I will more than likely do it again next year. It's nice to have a visual reference and it's fun comparing stats and stuff. I know it's not like percentages, pie charts, bar graphs. It's not proper stats, but still fun, and I definitely like to do it again and make even more art to compare. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like and consider subscribing. I've got more videos in the works similar to this one. I'm yet to announce this, but my drawing videos will be on hold for the foreseeable because I no longer have my fake nails on, but my last ones didn't come off properly and my nails are just a mess. I have no desire to do the normal draw with me's with my hand in and everything, but I'll probably do some speed paints like using the built-in Procreate system and just export that and then do commentary over the top of that. I'll do that until my nails look presentable, which I hope is soon because wow, they are bad. I'm really excited heading into 2026. I feel more confident than ever about my art and I have a ton of ideas for pieces and videos, so I hope you'll come along on the journey with me. If you'd like to do your own art archive, feel free and tag me. I'd love to see your progress and we can hype each other up. And with that, thanks for watching and I'll see you next year. Bye!